Hello guys, how are you doing? This is S2 Statistics, and in today's video on the Not So Quick Analysis, we're going to talk about 9 on Overpass. This is a team that I have been watching for quite some time, and recently they played the DracuLAN event. But something that I saw and was surprising for me is that the Overpass, it wasn't their pick on the map. They had a few deciders with the Overpass, and then Passion UI actually picked the map. That was the only time they play Overpass on the DracuLAN. And I don't know why this happened because Overpass is quite good for them. They play very well. They have a good CT solid with Rouse making a lot of rotations on the map. They have an interesting T approach with a lot of slow rounds combined with some mixed aggressions on the split setup is that I'm gonna show to you guys. But this was surprising for me to be honest. Yeah, I really hope they played more Overpass because it was a strong map. It wasn't. It is a strong map for them. Starting with the profile, Nine plays a heavy AWP presence. They play on the long setup, they play the short setup. They like a lot to rotate with PHZ right here, sometimes right here with the WP, sometimes even right here. So he plays this AWP presence combined with an aggro round. The aggro rounds that I say is that when they play very close to the faulting setup, if two players right in this position, one player near the bridge position, the B side, another player here. So they play very aggressive. And something that is different between Nine and other teams is how House free play on the map. House has a lot of free to movement on the map, and this is enabled because the team plays in the two sides. Two players on the A side and then two players on the B side. And meanwhile, House has all this space right here to move, and he moves a lot on the map. We're gonna see him taking out the water duel, taking out the fountain duel, the con duel, and that is very interesting. If a team really wants to counter 90, they should be looking on house movement, on where he is and where he's going to. Starting for a standard position, they also show this position, the mate video, in case you want to see another overpass approach. There is this Aggro Control, they free the players playing very close. One on the bridge, one another in the water, near the fountain position, the con, and then we have a house playing this ABC position. And the importance of this ABC because we will spend shoots in this wall that that we can spend shoot on this wall. And that is quick to move it to either B, to help in case if there is a B rush, or even A because you can easily rotate towards A and engage it. There is a certain position with the utility smart to stall. That's why we see 3 smokes on the map. And then we have the A attack. The A attack happens mostly with the WP, starting with PHZ right here on the 3 to rock position. He'll play very aggressive, and then he'll quickly rotate back to the A side and playing a solo WP position. Meanwhile, the short players, they will stay on the position. So this is a quick and go, because sometimes the CT will do these quick aggressions and then move back. But in this case of the short players, they stay on the time. So you're gonna see players staying on the short position to engage on the fountain. And then we're gonna see House also stay in this position. And then we're gonna rotate. The options of his rotations are short the con, and then we engage it right here to stay on this position near the water. And when he does this rotation for the water, he has met by another player. So they have a full defense. They always have to control the +1 to make the trades, to make the duels. And now the AWP Long. In this case, the AWP Long, they will retreat. So this is the complete opposite of the last position that I showed, because in the previous position, the WP engages, return, but two players stay on the position. In this case, the two players will engage and then return. That's why we see the arrows right here. So HZ takes out this engagement, closing out the fountain. Then we see taking out the CJ, taking out the con duel. So he takes the con, he takes the ABC duel. Rouse stays on the same position. Faven plus Kragan. Sorry, CJ's right here. Confuses sometimes the players. So they stay on the B side, So they're gonna stay alone on the B, the duel. And that is very important for 90 because they play this standard 2B player anchor setup. They always gonna be 2 players there. And that is because it's quite easy to make the aggressions as the T side, toward the water tracks in this position right here on the tracks, and splitting on this position. The A rotation, another great example on how they move on the map and how House has the freedom on the map, because House plays the pivotal role of always rotating. That it is always because I'm talking about this importance of the map, because he is important to the 90 setup. I don't know how the team itself sees the position. I don't know if it's someone from 90 gonna watch this video. So if you watch, and you can send me a DM, explain because I really see this a key player of the setup. House has to move. House can't be stalling alone like in this part of the map, like usually other teams does with a player that stays here. So he has to move, and he moves a lot. That is very good for them. And difference on the A rotation is that the two players on the bathroom position, bathroom toilet, depending on how you call this position, stay to connect on this part of the map because the key aspect of the rotation is that they are waiting for long engagements. When the CT goes from the tree to rock engagement to the long. So they cannot cut out with these two players that is inside the toilet position. And meanwhile, they're in the toilet position, Rouse will take this duel. So that is why this arrow going back. Because if he doesn't find anyone right here, he's back. He's free to go. He's free to move because he will have the certainty that two players on the bathroom position gonna be there. And since they are cut out of all the space of the map, 9, they can free another player to be here, So they can free a player to be closer to the track's engagement on the water position, It doesn't need to be inside bomb side like in the previous position that I showed you, where they're gonna be always two players inside the bomb side. In this case, they can be more free. They can move up more. Now, this is a very interesting position. I saw this in Ant Eco, and I think that can also do in the standard position, But the main round I saw it was in an Ant Eco, in an Eco position. If I'm not wrong, it was against Pervision. I can't remember, really can't remember. I was looking at my notes and I didn't write who they play against it. Or it was against TNL. Sorry, I can't remember. But anyway, they play this in an Eco position. We have PHZ on the heaven. And the reason why he's heaven, because he can also rotate back, They are waiting a quick rush from the T's. So if the T's rotate on the B side, they will be met by the WP on the PHZ. But if there ain't anyone on the B side or the T's decided to play a low economy, a slow eco, a slow semi-buy, they will have the option to rotate, to regroup, to adjust the movement on the map. That's why we see only one player on the con. Because the initial route for the T's engagement on their low economy are either by long, but also with one player taking out this part of the map. Sometimes two players are going to see on the A attack. And they will be running on the clock, The time will be passing. If there is any contact on the B side, they know they're going to be on the A side. So they rotate back. That is easy. And they haven't facilitated this option of quick rotation. So you're going to see PHZ, the time passes. Okay, we can rotate on the A side. That is the plan. And now let's move on to the T side, the T profile. They play these tracks lurking. And they play very slow-paced games, They play slow, they think, they take the time. And something that they have, and they do this a lot, I really like that, and don't see other teams doing this quite often. Only few teams do this approach. Is this con early duels right here. They will, not gonna say always, but like 90% of the time, 80% of the time at least, they always will have this play right here. Like 8% of the round. You're gonna stay on the con, take out for this duel right here, awaiting for a CT to movement, awaiting for a CT to make space for the T side player, and then go back. That's it. They always move one player, regardless if it's low, a fast-paced attack, whatever. They always like to make this play. And they play the standard tracks lurking, as I'm gonna also show you on the made video, that plays this a lot with two players on the tracks, that they can engage on the water, can engage right here. So they have this option of engaging the monster position. Now to a passive setup, that some teams also plays this variation, but other teams prefer to play 3 players on the fountain position. Instead of the one con, like you are seeing here, they play a 3rd player in this corner. But 9 like this con duo, since they like this con duo, it doesn't make sense if even it's a passive setup. And this show almost what I got showed in the T profile, because this is a standard position for them, a slow round on how they control the map, on how they want to move on the map. And these positions are very interesting and good to learn because you're slow, you can talk on the microphone, you can move to the team, you can give time to the team to think and wait for the CTs to commit the mistakes. Now for the tracks lurking that I really like, that is quite similar and quite the opposite because the players' position are very similar. What is the difference here is the intention of the play, because the tracks lurking, they're moving more active. That's why I have the utility in this position, and this position doesn't have any utility because I'm talking about this on the players itself. Right here is what the players want to do on the map, what they really want to do. And they want to lurk around with the lurkers in the track's position. No. They gain space, they flash out, they molotov the bridge to the water position, they goes in the tunnels, they have this plate right here, making 3 players on this setup, and then PHZ controlling long, and then we have Rouse controlling on this position. So they have these few options to move along on the map. So the track's lurking is to move more freely on the map. Meanwhile, the passive is to stay in this position. They stay, they wait for the cities to move. This position, no, they are active on the map. The starting positions are similar, but the intention is different. One is low and a stall position, the other is a more active position, aggressive. Now to the A attack, very standard. They put 3 players on the 3 to long right here, as I already make the circle. And engage. What is difference is that they have 2 players on this option. And these 2 players can move in either side. One short, another toilet. Oh, sorry for the it was weird. And the reason that they are splitting the players into short and toilet is that because the CTs needed to choose one side of this part of the map to engage, They have to choose either here or here. So in the case if they choose one with 2 players, another has a free movement to make the trade, to engage on the backside. Meanwhile, the main attack is on the long, because they are baiting these 2 players to make a plant. That's why we see this combo of 2 smokes on each entrance of the rotation from players rotating short B. And then 2 Molotovs. These 2 Molotovs to remove the players, to make the CTs to move in case there is 1 or 2 CT players inside the bomb side, like PHZ plays in this long corner of the AWP, like he plays sometimes behind the box. And now to a split B. The split B, most of the time, is the result of the tracking lurking of the fountain passive play, So there is the resulting of a post-movement position, So they take control of the con position, they take control of the track's position, and then they engage. But pay attention, there's also sometimes they will start with this position, that they will start with 5 players rushing around. And it is very interesting when the team does the same option to make a slow or a fast play in the same bomb side, in the same, if I can call this a finalization, the same way to end the round. So they can use it in a fast way or in a slow way. And the split's quite standard, you split 2 players in the water, 2 players in the track, and then engage. You molotov this part of the map, sometimes a secondary molotov right here, and then a flash to remove these players from this part of the map, and enter fast. Because when they decide to attack, either it is in the beginning, the mid, or the late round, as I said, they have these options, they will enter bomb site fast. Once they make the call is to move fast and quick. No stopping, no holding unnecessary angles, just move. When the trigger is pulled, if you can say like this. When you pull the trigger, they move. And now to end out the positions, the B attack, quite simple, quite easy. It can happen with low economy, but it can also happen with full buy, as I saw in a few demos that I watched. They do this in a full buy setup, but there is the option of lower buy. Once again, one player con, usually PHZ, he likes to do this with the WP from the demos I watched. He had the WP. So he close out this angle in case the CTs are moving, right here to engage. And the thing is that this play can happen with PHZ, with the WP, the teams, with the Galil, sometimes the Tech 9. When there is the WP that they saved from a previous round or they were able to get from the CTs. So it is very good to see on how they move on this part of the map. And when they have 5 players, the most common line of attack is towards tracks and then to engage. There is the option of going water and then to engage right here from the bridge. In this case, the rush will be 5 players in this position, in the con. So you're going to see 5 players on the con position. Take control from the water, take control from the tunnel to avoid any lurking that can come from here. And then enter the bomb site. And that's it, guys. Hope you like the content. Something that I want to say is that you saw that the time from the previous video to this video, it was bigger than usual. It is because I'm really trying to include the in-game footage. But something that I paid attention that I'm doing is that if you look in all the previous videos that I make on this channel, I always have 4 or 5 positions for each side of the map, you know. So in total, like in average 10 positions, I'm gonna show plus the profiles. And I don't know how to say this in English. It is difficult. It is difficult. My difficult an issue to make this on the in-game footage is that I took a lot of time to explain to move around the camera, to make the line is inside the game. You know, for me, I take too much time. I was paying attention that in average I take 5 to 6 minutes for each position. So imagine a video with 10 positions like this had. It's gonna be 1 hour of video, at least 1 hour. And then my idea was never to make a long video. I always want to make my videos with 20 minutes less. You know, 20 for me is maximum. If I record a video longer than 20 minutes, I will delete and record again. Because the idea it was to make a quick analysis, you know, because my idea is to become an analyst. Even though this is a more pleasant content to see, you know. But I'm really tired. I think that I'm gonna include at least one round is set up with the game footage per side, you know, because at least you're gonna see a more pleasant view, you know, you're gonna see a more interesting thing besides the 2D map. And that's it. Once again, I'm including the Ko-Fi link if you want to donate to help. And I'm gonna try to make more videos in the recent time. That's it. Bye bye. Have a good Sunday.